Yes. This essay is called Views on Euthanasia, and of course it will be very controversial. I don't mind debating, but please keep it civil. I've written in various essays that I support euthanasia, yet I've never given it its own essay, and the topic has been mentioned or alluded to a great deal a lot in the last few months in posts by myself and my Facebook friends. So here are my thoughts on the matter. It has always struck me as odd that so many people agree with the idea that because a pet or other animal is sick and or in pain, has harmed a human, or because it's simply too expensive to care for him or her, he or she should be euthanized. In fact, many of these people would substitute it for he or she in my previous sentence. Yet as soon as the word person or human is substituted for animal or pet, these same people become angered. It seems to me that they've forgotten that we humans are animals too. The only thing which makes us different, and science is finding that there are several animals which can do this in a more rudimentary level, is that we can reason and make decisions. But this is not always the case. So when, for example, someone is in a coma or is criminally ill and is supposedly unable to stop him or herself by natural human conscience, is he or she not on the same mental level of an animal? Despite our advanced technology, we humans are not immune to illness. Sometimes we become ill as a result of a disease. Sometimes it's due to old age, and sometimes it's a combination of factors. But there are those who know that they don't want to continue living if their mental capacity is decreased to a certain point. For some, this may mean totally brain dead. For others, it could be being unable to communicate or to remember loved ones, or even not being able to care for themselves independently due to something like being paralyzed. Why, then, if these people wish to die with dignity, should they be forced to live in conditions that they hate or wouldn't want to experience had they the understanding? Why should they be starved to death or simply not helped instead of having their deaths be quick and humane? This is especially true with the young, who have had their innocent lives snatched from them, and the elderly who have lived long lives but are now slowly losing their memories. Is it fair to them that they have to continue suffering, the former knowing that they will never lead a full and normal life, and the latter knowing that they've already done so and that they are ready to go to the next adventure? Then there are those who are mentally insane, and due to that they commit violent crimes. As my readers will know by now, I fully support the death penalty and have also written an essay on that. In this case, though, it's more euthanasia, since these people honestly didn't know what they were doing. That said, they still shouldn't be allowed to clog up the system, be it the prisons or the mental wards of hospitals, etc. These are dangerous individuals who have harmed the innocent and would likely do so again if they were let out into society. Remember that the dog who is rabid, or the extremely violent or untrainable one, also doesn't know what he or she is doing. So why should he or she be euthanized, and not the man or woman with a dangerous mental illness which cannot be cured? Why should the dog or the person, both of whom don't understand the nature of what they've done, be punished by being imprisoned? Sometimes illness doesn't cause pain or loss of memory, but rather halts the mental growth of an individual. This is known as retardation. Those who are mildly retarded can often live full and productive lives, sometimes with a little help and sometimes on their own. They may think on a slower level, but can still understand who, when, and where they are, and can answer basic and, in less severe cases, more advanced questions. But when the retardation is so severe that they don't even know who they are, can't feed themselves, walk, talk, etc., and when it is clear that they will never be able to do so, why keep them alive? I think it's a tragedy for them and their parents. While they may have wonderful parents and or guardians, unless they are rich, what will become of them when said parents die? If they are given to a family member, then he or she and his or her family members must deal with another mouth to feed, knowing that the person will never be able to survive on his or her own. So he or she becomes a burden. Those who don't work but who are still mentally able can still contribute to the family by providing interesting conversations, playing with children, helping around the house, etc. But what can one who is this severely mentally retarded do? If they're shipped off to an institution, then they may not understand why, and will only know that they are away from the only home and people that they have ever known. If they do have enough intelligence to think on the level of a very small child, they may decide that they did something bad and that mommy and daddy don't love them anymore. So it's best, whenever possible, to abort fetuses if they show signs of extreme mental illness. If, however, the signs show once the child is born that it's best to study him or her for a time, and if there is absolutely no progress, then euthanasia should be considered. Of course, this is a very difficult decision and should never be taken lightly, but it is something to consider, for the sake of the family as well as society. All of these cases, the mentally insane, the terminally ill, and the mentally retarded, involve the care of others. This, in turn, involves a great expense. The difference here is that the money is not being spent on those who will hopefully be able to return to a normal or somewhat normal life, as in the case of an operation, nor is it being given to those who simply need some extra help in life, such as adaptive technology or a nurse to come and check on things at home. Rather, it's being used to continue the lives of those who will never recover from their ailments and in some cases who could potentially harm others because of them. In the case of families, it's their choice. But I don't think that the government, even if the healthcare system was universal, should get involved in situations such as this, except to enforce the wishes of the terminally ill if they wish to die. If they wish to live, or if the family wishes to care for someone with a severe mental illness, they should be the ones to bear the burden. I would much rather them fund help for pets and animals whom the families can't afford to help but who could recover with an operation or therapy. If the state has incarcerated a criminally ill person, he or she should be euthanized as soon as possible. Now I'm going to stop the essay for 1 second and clarify. I do fully believe in universal health care, and I think that anyone who truly needs it should get it, along with everyone else, obviously. That's why it's universal, but especially um, the poor, the disabled, and whatnot. If you can mentally think and you're okay, I don't care if you're disabled or not, you should never be excluded from healthcare because you really need it. I'm talking strictly about those who can never ever live on their own, paralyzed to the point where they can't do anything at all, mentally disabled, etc. In short, these are my reasons for supporting euthanasia. While I do agree that it can be abused, I do think that if proper laws were put in place, it would make it much more difficult. To euthanize someone based on a totally false premise, such as age, race, religion, gender, various disabilities wherein the people can still think and mostly care for themselves, etc. None of these are ever good reasons and should be disqualified. But when valid reasons exist, this really is the best course of action for all involved.